Schmack-a-magab, everybody, and wow, what sad news. We lost the great, legendary Jonny Z today. John Zazula, so responsible to many of the albums I have here and many of the CDs. And what a great man he was. I'm proud that I got to know him a little bit. He got to know me. I met him way back. Let me see if I can show you. On the Sound of White Noise tour, he was still managing Anthrax, and I had him sign this CD. And then I met him where I met him again when I went to go see Venom Inc. play Miami, and he was there with Marsha, and I got this picture with him. And when I met him, he was like, "You're on my Facebook," because we're Facebook friends. And then he was on my podcast, but he would send me, like, you know, happy birthdays on my birthday. And we did have a couple little chats here and there. And I remember one time he went on Facebook Live and I chimed in and he's like, "My buddy Ralph from Miami." And I was like, wow, you know, he was just a great dude, man. And so was Marsha, and I got to speak with, you know, we chatted here and there on Facebook, here and there. I don't like to bother people. So, you know, he would message me sometimes, and, you know, for a happy birthday and back and forth. And I'm telling you, I go way back with Megaforce Records. I mean, I knew of Metallica before Kill 'Em All. I knew the No Life Til Leather, the Metal Massacre album. So I bought Kill 'Em All when it was fairly new on that year. And then every time, like, you know, Anthrax, like what I'm wearing, Overkill, every Megaforce album that I would see, I would take a chance on, because I knew it would be quality. And, you know, Eddie Trunk was responsible for getting Ace Frehley on the label, but, you know, he helped promote it. And, you know, he's just a legend. He's a legend, and it's really sad. I mean, we just lost Marsha not too long ago. Now we lost him. I hope they're together up there with Cliff Burton. And it's just a very sad day, because the guy is legendary. The man, I mean, read his book. Damn, I should have pulled out his book. His book is amazing. It's a guy that, you know, he put his money where his mouth is. You know, he got Metallica to come to New York, started Megaforce with his faith in this band from California, and did everything he could to help them and release an album for them, and look what happened. You know, I mean, Metallica, as we speak, is the biggest metal band, and he managed Anthrax, and he took, you know, and there were so many bands on the Megaforce label that are just legendary to me. Maybe they're not household names, but, you know, M.O.D., T.T. Quick. You know, I mean, there's just too many to talk about. And of course, you know, my favorite band along with Black Sabbath is Mercyful Fate, where he signed them on the first album. The Melissa album was on Megaforce Records. You know, actually, he talks all about it because he did my podcast, the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast, with me and Ian Wadley. He came on, and it's a great interview, and I want to play it to all of you. And I also want to talk about this, the Lone Ranger, which we talk about it on the podcast. This is something I heard on the Metal Shop, the only show with teeth, Metal Rap. It's actually the first metal rap song, and I bought it because I heard it on Metal Shop, and he mentions Venom and Fate, and that did it for me. But man, rest in peace, Jonny Z. I mean, the man is a legend. Legendary guy that, you know, took chances. And it paid off, you know, as you'll hear in this interview. You know, he opened a record store just to get $70 a week for groceries. You know, and look what it... And then he got a lot of money. Think about it. Metallica... You know, when Elektra, I'm sure they paid him a few million, and Anthrax was successful. You know, he did some very successful things, but a lot of the records that he released weren't as successful, but they're successful to me, and they're great parts of my record collection. like TT Quick and stuff like that. I talk all about it. He talks all about it, and it's an awesome interview. We really get in depth with the guy, and it's only like a 30-minute interview, but we got a lot out of him, and the guy couldn't have been nicer. And wow, man, sucks that I heard that today. And I've been busy all week, and I had to make time. I'm actually busy now. I got a few things I got to do, but I have to do this tribute to the man that was very kind to me. But not only that, I mean, even more important than the little tiny friendship that we had, that he knew me and I knew him. What was more important was the man's spirit. The man's, I believe in this, and I'm putting I don't have money, but I'm going to put the little money I have into this band called Metallica, into this band called Anthrax. He put his money where his mouth is, and it paid off. And to me, that makes him an awesome human being. He took chances, and it paid off. And it's a very sad day. So rest in peace, Jonny Z. And here's the interview that Ian and Wadley and myself did with him, and it's really cool, man. I just listened to it now, and I'm going to tack it on now so you can hear it. So my deepest condolences to the Zazula family, all his friends, which there's a lot of killer metal bands that were his friend, and his fans like me, because I really did look up to Jonny Z. I looked up to him as a legend, and that's what he is. He's legendary, He's the East Coast legend, and we have Brian Slagel, who's still with us, as the West Coast legend. So here it is, Jonny Z on the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast. Rest in peace, Jonny. All right, we are honored to have Mr. John Zazula here on the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast. How you doing, John?
All is good.
I am very excited for your book, my friend. What inspired you to say, you know what, I got to write a book?
Well, I was bored to death being retired. And about 3 days in, I said, I got to do something with myself. So I was talking to Marsha, and she said, how about it's time for you to write that book, Jonny?
Awesome.
And I said, it's a great idea, but I didn't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the blue, this fellow named Harold Claros Maldonado called me up for a Metallica interview, which I didn't want to do. But we were talking, and I asked him to send me some of his writing, and it turned out that he's a research guy for the Army. So I said, why don't you research my life? Can you do it? And we could write a book together. And the next thing you knew it, he said yes, and we wrote the book.
So, John, I know the whole story so far, how, the Rock and Roll Heaven. But before that, before you discovered all this, new wave of British heavy metal and so on, before all that, were you like a really big rock fan before that? Like, your Deep Purple's, Led Zeppelin back in like the 70s?
I want to tell you, I never liked Deep Purple that much.
Mm.
However, I did like the song Hush.
Right.
Smoke on the Water didn't really do it for me. That sounded like going to kindergarten and writing a rock song. But I was, before I went into the heavy music, I was a big Deadhead. And before that, I was listening to Blue Cheer and The Who. But the Cream were my first heavy experience. And from Cream, I went to Led Zeppelin and the Jeff Beck group, and basically it molded itself into Black Sabbath and took off from there.
So you were already primed and ready for the new wave of British heavy metal scene once it came in.
Oh yeah, the time I heard that, it was just another form of great music that had pierced my eardrums.
And is that what inspired you to open your record store?
Well, a need for $70 a week to pay my grocery bills. I the truth. I opened up the record store hoping to make a few extra dollars so I could feed my family. In the book, when you read it, you'll see that I was having some very hard times. And I never planned to open up a metal mecca or the Holy Land for heavy metal records to be purchased in the United States. You know, all we wanted to do in the beginning was pay our bills so that we could eat and feed the children.
Uh, Now, John, I know, when I was first getting into heavy metal as a young teenager, I was into more the hard rock uh, than the thrash. Thrash took me a while because it was so different. When you first heard Metallica, was that something you got right away, or did you just
Oh,
know
yeah.
it was so different? It was
No. Remember, I was a big Motorhead fan already,
okay,
you know, and I was already listening to stuff like Holocaust, and I was listening to Angel Witch and Raven, and sort of the speedier metal was what I gravitated to. And when I heard Metallica, I mean, that hit me right in the balls. You know, that was it, man.
right. Oh, no,
So
that's
it's a
great. I mean, you had great foresight there. Good taste.
well,
So
you know, ready to hear it. I was waiting for a band like Metallica to come on.
so when you first discovered Metallica, when you first heard them, was it your vision to sign them or just to have them come over to do some shows?
It was to be part of their life. I just felt they were the greatest thing I ever heard, and somehow I wanted to attach myself to it. I had no idea what the role was. If at the very least they would get to do 12 shows for me, and that would be it, because I had 12 shows for them when they came over.
So when they came over, is that when you had the idea to record Kill 'Em All, or was that something you already had planned beforehand?
Well, there were no plans to make records or anything for a while. You know, we were discussing what was next as the band had completed their shows with me and were continuing to do more shows. We figured while we're here, let's do an album. And I wanted to get them signed to a record label, but nobody knew what it was that I was playing them. They thought I was out of my mind. It was hard appointment. It was hard enough to make the appointment with these people. But then when I got there, they really took a shit on my head, you know, like, what the fuck are you playing me, fella? Get out of here.
So yeah, because it is odd how they first were on Metal Massacre and they had an alliance with Brian Slagel, but I guess they really felt like you would be the better way to go.
Well, you know, I was talking album. I don't think Brian was talking anything going forward with them. And they saw that I had a real heavy control over the metal scene out of my northeast location. I think they wanted to lock up horns with me because they felt that at least I knew what I was doing. I'm not saying that Slagel Brian is a very competent and I'm one of his biggest fans. But at the time, he let Metallica get away. I would have never let that happen.
Right. Yeah. And after all those shows, was Metallica? Uh, I should know this because I'm very well versed on Megaforce. But was Metallica the first artist on Megaforce Records?
Yes, the label was formed basically to put the Metallica record out.
And,
Nice.
and from there, since it was a success, you branched out to like a Raven, right? Well, not
What
Raven. I'm
happened?
sorry, Rods.
No, what happened? You were correct. The first thing we did when we got Metallica going was we looked to fuel the fire so that when Metallica came out, there was already a record in the pipeline and we could learn how to do sales. So we put out a Venom single of Die Hard and Acid Queen B-side.
Yes.
And we only made 1,000 of them. We put it out. It got sold out in 5 seconds.
Hmm. And that was never repressed.
No.
Oh,
When
okay.
we
So,
say 1,000, it's 1,000.
and a question that I've always wanted to know, because I've heard this from somebody, is the only version of Kill 'Em All that has Bang That Head that cannot bang was the Megaforce Records version?
I don't know that. I didn't know it wasn't on the rest of them.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard once Elektra got him, it stopped being pressed in the back, that little quote.
Wow.
Look,
Wow. I never knew that.
you,
Wow.
you saw that, Ian? I just told Johnny something he didn't know.
Yeah. Boy, you're a regular Eddie Trunk.
Poor Richard Birch. He had it going there for a while.
uh, John, now, after Metallica, you got, Anthrax and Overkill and SOD and all these great bands. Other than Metallica, who would you say, are you most proud of? Of their success, of their longevity, of your
Well,
relationship with them?
you have to realize I managed Anthrax for 11 years. So I continue to be proud of Anthrax, and I'm very happy to see where they are in their life. But the band that I'm closest to, believe it or not, is Testament
Nice.
these years. And I'm very proud of where Chuck Billy has taken the band and where they've gone. And it's great to see Skolnick playing again today. And I'm a big Testament fan. Let's leave it at that.
Nice. Nice.
Now, how about on the flip side? Is there any band that was on Megaforce that you thought would do better than they actually did?
Well, we tried to break King's X in a very big way. And
Right.
really couldn't get King's X to where we wanted to get them. And that's one of my biggest disappointments. I thought I had a monster band in King's X. And, they are a cult classic right now, but I felt they could have been a little bigger than we got them.
How were King's X brought to your attention? How'd you discover them?
It's in the book. Marsha got a tape from Maness Taylor, and she thought it was from a band we were working with down in Memphis from Steve Taylor, but it actually was from a Sam Taylor out of Houston, Texas. So she listened to it by accident above all others, but she fell in love with it. And it took Marsha about 2 months to sell me on King's X. Finally, they sent in a video that was homemade that really knocked me out. And I asked Marsha to put a meeting together and let's go to Houston and see them. The rest is history.
Yeah, and they're a band that has a lot of respect, but unfortunately, there's still kind of a cult act. But
Well, they were too good for too many.
yeah, yeah.
They're more of a musician's band. Like musicians seem to really love King's X.
Absolutely. It's almost like a Rush kind of thing, but not as big.
But now you mentioned they were brought to your attention through your wife Marsha, who's been by your side the whole time. Is Marsha going to be allowed to read this book, or is there some stuff in there she can't read?
She's read most of it already. Actually, she read it all because she wrote in the epilogue. It was very nice of her to say that this is really true what happened in the book.
Yeah.
And she lived with me through every experience. So she's mentioned throughout the book. Without Marsha, there'd be no Megaforce, that's for sure.
Right now, was
Go
that
ahead.
something that is? I mean, was that hard on your marriage? Like running the business together plus maintaining your marriage, or did it make it easier because she was by your side?
And we duked it out a few times.
Uh,
I'll say this to you. We fought about the most crazy things, craziest of things. The one thing I've been talking about lately, and I'll just mention it again, is that we had a knockdown, drag out fight over the keyboards on the song Armed and Dangerous by Anthrax. Either
yeah.
felt that they were very good and added a new dimension, Or I did. I don't even remember who wanted them. Didn't want them, but they ended up being there. Marsha must have won the fight.
Uh, I believe that would be the EP version, right, John? Not the Spreading the Disease version that has the keyboards.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, both do. I don't remember if they both do. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the EP version has like a longer intro,
Right.
where the Spreading the Disease was just the it just went right into the like the guitar part. And something very very interesting, and one of my favorite songs of all time, you wrote Medusa.
Oh yeah.
And how did that? I mean, did you write the complete song, or did they?
Uh,
Because all I see is John Zazula. I don't see any collaborator with you there.
no, no. The music was by the band.
Okay, so you
The
wrote the lyrics.
line and the lyrics are by me.
Well, it's an excellent song, and I'm glad they're finally playing it again because there was a while they stopped playing it, and to me, it's one of their staple songs.
Cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed that one.
I think it's the one with the most hooks.
Now, is that a case? Did you write all the lyrics or did you contribute? Like, did they have a song, but it's called Roberta? You're like, call it Medusa.
That's my lyrics.
Nice. Nice. Great job. Well, your name is, I grew up one of those kids that always read the liner notes. So I always knew who you were from, probably the first Megaforce album I bought would be, Among the Living, which was Megaforce and Island. But you have a lot of credits as producer, executive producer. What album that you're attached to as a producer do you feel most proud of that you had a lot of involvement and some suggestions?
Well, I'm pretty much involved to some degree in every album that has come out. I can't say I got involved any more or any less, only because my memory doesn't serve me to. I just know that if I didn't like it, it didn't come out. One of the greatest stories in the book is about a band called Nude Swirl.
Yes, I've heard
Great,
of them.
great band that self destructed. And what was I going to say? Nude Swirl produced an album that was supposed to be about 75,000, 80,000, but it was mixed so many times and I hated it so much that it cost me $96,000.
Wow.
And I went to the studio to hear it for the last time, took the tapes and had them thrown into a garbage bin. 90,
I,
92 or $96,000 worth of taping an album. And then I went to my friend Eric Rachel, who had a studio in New Jersey called Tracks East, and he produced the album for $15,000 or $16,000. We did it again, and it came out great.
I heard Metallica dug that out of the garbage and called it Saint Anger. Is that
Right,
Uh, all
right.
right. John, tell me, how did Lone Ranger happen?
Oh man.
I own that, by the way.
Oh yeah, you're one of the unfortunate souls. You know, I just put it on iTunes for the first time a month ago. The story behind Lone Ranger is definitely in the book, but it was about a dream I had to do a metal rap record and be the first one to really get one out of its genre real heavy. And I didn't want to do it. I woke up and said, I'm not going to do it. But I was in the studio in Ithaca with Carl Kennedy from the Rods, who produced many albums for me. And Carl said, John, let's do it. I'll get the Rods to be your backup band. Now, all I had to do was hear the Rods are going to back me up. My ego said right away, let's do it. So we came up with a music line. I gave it to Rock Feinstein to play, and the band played it. But it came time for the lyrics, and I really couldn't get it together. So I drank a bottle of Jack Daniels, and in a spinning stupor, I wrote those lyrics. Now, I want to say something to you. I think the lyrics are great. It tells the story of heavy metal from the very beginning to when it started to get signed by the major labels. It's a great, great story spanning 30 years of metal. But I never took it seriously. It was a bit of a me taking a piss on the world. So I didn't go crazy with it. But if you listen to it and just listen to the lyrics, not the ones on line, because in Wikipedia they got the wrong lyrics. I don't know whose lyrics those are. You'll see it was a pretty cool song lyrically, anyway.
Well, John, I first heard that song on the syndicated radio show, The Metal Shop, the only show with teeth. And when I heard it and I heard the line "Venom and Fate," I was sold. Because at the time, being in South Florida, Venom and Fate was like our band. Like nobody knew about them. And I mean, to this day, Merciful Fate and Black Sabbath are my favorite bands of all time. And you had a big role in the Melissa album. And what happened that after Melissa, you weren't involved with them anymore?
Well, Melissa was the first time I ever licensed a record from Europe to put out in the States. The problem was I did such a good job, they didn't need me to put out the second one. They put it out themselves.
Who was that? Roadrunner or
Yes,
Road Racer at the
Road,
time?
Roadrunner.
Well, I got to say that album. Well, now in retrospect, I would have never thought, that Merciful Fate would be so huge as they are today. Because back then, with the big satanic overtones, the way the EP looked, I always thought this was a band that I would have never known. Because at the time, John, you would know this. I mean, it was very taboo to be so upfront, saying Satan, Satan all the time. Where
Yeah,
every band.
but you know what? I never gave a shit.
Right. No, and I'm glad you didn't, because I did discover Merciful Fate before the Melissa EP with the I mean, yeah, before I mean, I'm sorry, after the
Right.
EP.
With the nuns have no fun.
Yes, that EP, I bought that first, then Melissa I bought next. But I never thought, that because it was so. I mean, I'm so glad you didn't give a shit, but at the time, I never thought it was going to go anywhere. I thought it was just going to be an underground thing. But now look what happened, and believe me, Melissa is a big springboard to what they are today. So
Just listen to the music.
it's perfect.
The
It's
music
per-
is beautiful. That's a very well orchestrated record.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any band that can cram so many riffs in a song and make it blend so well. That's what I love so much about Merciful Fate. And to collate with another band that was signed with you, there's two bands out there that I think either you get the vocals or you don't. And I think Merciful Fate and another band that you signed after their first album was Vio-lence. Vio-lence was another one where Sean Killian, you either get it or you don't. There ended up being some controversy with oppressing the masses with the track Torture Tactics.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell you, I went crazy over that whole violent situation. I really wanted the band to succeed on Megaforce, but I had a lot of trouble with Atlantic Records, and there was internal turmoil within the band at the time, and it was destined to crap out.
But then you did release the Torture Tactics EP.
Yes, I did. They sold okay. They never did big numbers.
Right, but so that Torture Tactics EP, I mean, what was exactly the problem? Atlantic Records was the ones that didn't want to release it?
They felt it was too violent. For Fuck You by Overkill, I put it out on Caroline, our independent distributor. And I was really pushing Atlantic to put it out, and they were really getting mad. So I said, you know what, I'll put it out on Caroline as well. It wasn't worth destroying everything I worked so hard to build over that issue. I do believe in freedom of speech and the First Amendment. I put out many records to prove that I was right. I put out SOD. You know what I'm saying.
Right.
But I do have children, and I have to think, do I want my children even to listen to certain things? I think you're entitled. You just weren't entitled on Atlantic, so I put it out on Megaforce Caroline.
Speaking of SOD, I mean that was just a little side project, but what happened? You heard it and you said, I want to release this as well?
Well, Marsha and I both heard it and fell in love with it. We thought that was the greatest music ever. One of my favorite bands on Megaforce will always be Stormtroopers of Death. You know?
Yeah, it's a shame it didn't go as further because they only played a handful of shows back then,
Well,
correct?
no, remember something. The band, they were part of Anthrax, and Anthrax wasn't going to die to SOD.
Right.
So you had to put a line in the sand, unfortunately. And I didn't want to put the line in the sand, but the band did.
Okay, so it was more their decision to focus more on Anthrax, which
Right.
is, actually the smart thing to do because they were doing much better. I mean, Anthrax even came to Miami in '85, and that was unheard of for, I don't think there was any Megaforce acts that came to Miami that early.
Oh, we lost a lot of money on that Southern tour. I was there.
Oh, at the Miami show?
Yeah, I think it was at the Playpen.
Yes, you're correct. With Hell Witch. Do you remember Hell Witch?
Absolutely. I knew Art Stock very well from New Jersey, who owned the Playpen. He
Go
gave
ahead.
me 3 shows down in Florida, and I played my way down through the South. It was a horrible tour, but we had a lot of fun.
All right, Ian, you got any questions? I think I seem to be
Yeah.
hogging this interview.
Yeah. Well, speaking of SOD, I mean, John, you're very much a beloved figure in the metal community, and a lot of people have nothing but nice to say about you. But two guys who've been kind of vocal would be Billy Milano and Bobby Gustafson from Overkill. Uh,
Right.
is that something? Is the feeling mutual, or is this some one-sided thing? Do you feel it's something you mismanaged, or they blew out of proportion?
It's very sad. I think Bobby's mad at me because I supported Overkill continuing without him.
Okay.
And he never got over that. And may have done certain things between him and the band. People always blame the head of the company because they think I have something to do with it, but I have nothing to do with band's inner workings. And the same thing with Billy. He had a blowout with Anthrax, certain members, and I have to tell you, I'm in the middle of it.
Right.
Nothing to do about it. I mean, I think Billy's a brilliant performer. It's a shame that we don't get along, but I understand where he's coming from.
But these are both guys that if they wanted to be cool with you again, you would be more than willing, to be
Oh yeah,
friends again.
great about Gustafson and Billy Milano was one of my favorite people on earth.
Yeah, well, that's a shame.
Like I am very quick to forgive and to forget, and I wish other people were the same.
I agree. I agree. Well, another question. You've had, so many legendary bands on your label. Were there any bands that you pursued to get on Megaforce that you lost out on, or decided to go to another label? Somebody that you really wanted bad?
Not really. I'm asked that question a lot. I turned down 2 bands for management that became very big because at the time I managed Anthrax and Ministry, and I was asked to look after Pantera and White Zombie at the time. And
Wow.
I'll be honest with you, it's okay. I
Yeah.
my knees and work. I couldn't have taken on any more anyway.
Well, you just mentioned a band that had to be a handful in Ministry. Do you have some crazy tales about that era of Ministry? Because man, there's a lot of shit going on there.
I'm sure they've all been told, and I leave Al Jorgensen to tell Al Jorgensen stories. I really don't find it tasteful to talk about Al's life.
Did you enjoy working with them, or was it kind of a nightmare?
It was wonderful beyond belief, and horrible beyond belief.
I can see that.
It was Alice. When you're working with Al side by side, it's a great feeling.
How about somebody that's known to be very difficult? Well, not difficult, but more lazy. Is Ace Frehley? What was your relationship with Ace Frehley when he joined Megaforce?
Ace and I hit it off very well. We had a very good relationship for quite a while. I got very busy in the business, and Ed Trunk, who worked as our vice president at the time, pretty much got together with Ace and worked on Ace on all his doings. So Ed was really Ace Frehley. I was more some of the other bands. But when Ace and I were together, it was wonderful.
And was he hardworking when he like the Frehley's Comet era?
Absolutely. It faded towards the end, but for a while it was really great guns blazing.
You mentioned having Eddie Trunk on board. Uh, how was he to work with, and did he add another dynamic to Megaforce?
Eddie was the commercial hard rock end of Megaforce.
Right.
Okay.
He was the part of Megaforce that understood the radio and what might be played at radio and MTV and things like that. I was in my own zone of what I felt the world should do and trying to push the world that way. Eddie introduced me to an easier path.
One album, John, that I felt was criminally underrated and surprised it didn't do as well as it should have was Medal of Honor by T.T. Quick. I think that's an amazing album. What's your thoughts on that one?
No, it's a great album. It's got some classic songs. It's produced by two great producers, Eddie Kramer and Michael Wagner. And they unfortunately got caught in a regime change at Island Records that buried them. Because as we signed them to Island and put the record out, Island decides they didn't want to have that kind of metal. They wanted me to put out another thrash album by another thrash band, and they totally ignored them, and it really killed all of us.
Yeah. Now, Megaforce is still around. Are you still involved in Megaforce in any capacity?
I haven't been involved in Megaforce in many years now.
Okay, so was that a thing where did you sell the name, or do you get anything from it, or?
That's really personal, but the person who runs Megaforce now runs Megaforce. I have nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay.
John, you mentioned before, like you got bored for being retired and it inspired you to write this book. I was always under the impression that you had something to do with Venom Inc. Am I wrong?
Well, Venom Inc. remain great friends of mine.
Okay.
And I advised them out of friendship. I don't want to get involved with to be anybody's manager or anybody's anchor to depend on, to dock their ship or life buoy to save themselves from drowning. I'm not into it anymore. I just want to basically chill out.
Okay, because it was such a surprise to see you at the Miami show. And I did go up to you, and you did remember me that night. You said, "You're on my Facebook." And I was very happy to.
I was a lot sharper then than I am right now, too.
Oh, that was only a couple years ago, John.
It happened in a few years.
If this does good, are we going to get a book from Marsha, too, telling her side?
That would be unbelievable, actually. I would love to read that.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to read your book because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, since obviously I haven't read it yet. This is not some dirt book, some Motley Crue type stuff, because I feel what you dealt with, other than Ministry, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, every other band was pretty much on the up and up. It wasn't one of those sex, drug, rock and roll type things.
Oh, this is a sex, drug, and roll book.
Yeah, I figured that. And I just want to say that Megaforce Records really was a soundtrack to my youth, that if just to see Megaforce on a record, I knew that it's going to be quality stuff. And that's why I took a chance on TT Quick. You know, I saw the album. I said, this looks kind of interesting. Then I saw Megaforce on it. Okay, I'm buying it. You know.
It's a great album. It's just not thrash.
Yeah, and you specialize in thrash. And one that it's a compilation you put out that I play a little too much. I just wanted to bring this in. How much I love Deeper Into the Vault.
Cool.
Because it had like a MOD song that wasn't released. There was several songs on there that wasn't on their official albums.
Right.
And I just love the hell out of that. And a lot of those songs I question why they weren't, because they're really good songs. And just like about a year ago, I got to hang out, an honor to hang out with Carl Kennedy, because he was down here in Miami recording with his new band, and man, what a great soul that guy is. And
wonderful.
So did he approach you saying, "Hey, look, I know how to produce albums," or did you already know?
I don't even remember. All I know is it's a blessing that we got together.
And he did some great stuff, as well as Wacko.
Wonderful.
Well, John, Ian, do you have any last things to say to John before we let him go?
Well, I would just like to say it's an honor to have you on the show, and thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm very excited to get your book, and maybe sometime in the future, we would love to have you back on, maybe, because what we do here, we do a lot of album reviews, and maybe have you back on for a Megaforce album we talk about, where we do a track by track. Would love to hear your input and stories on any of those albums. And just thank you for getting all the metal you got out. Because, I mean, we wouldn't have a lot of these great bands or wouldn't have access to these albums if it wasn't for you. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for buying them. And thanks for having me on the show. And both of you take good care of yourself. Ralph, I'll remember you next time I see you down in Miami.
I would love to go out with dinner with you, and it'll be on me, John, even though you're a much more richer man than me.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe spiritual wise, I don't know. You got to watch out for that.
Yeah, watch this guy. Keep him away from Marsha. He'll try to steal her.
No, I won't. And you were there. You were there with Marsha at Venom Inc. You both were there.
Marsha and I are usually not too far from each other.
Well, that's great to know. How many years now you've been married, John?
40.
Wow! Congratulations on that. And again, I can't thank you enough for your time. And I wish you a lot of success on the book. And I am going to write the person I've been writing on to get a link to an autographed copy, because I'm going to order one today.
All right, that's wonderful. JohnZazula.com.
All right, great. Oh, there you go. All right, John, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Peace out, my friend.